We've had a lot of students come up to us, at least up to me over the last several weeks, and talk about the chapels that we've been doing and how much they've enjoyed the chapels they've been doing. And ultimately they talk about the presentation and how entertaining it was when the wood chips were flying, or how maybe funny it was when I was talking, and Miss C's chapel last week, just a lot of great comments. And I would trade all that, those great comments about, the presentation, for great comments about how we know that it's sunk in, that the message, that the words that we said, that the way that they were meant to be said, the way that they were portrayed, sunk into your heads and hearts. I would trade all those presentation compliments for, those types of words. Today we are going to kind of wrap it up. We're going to, spend a little bit of time in prayer. We've talked about some different things that we need to pray over, and so instead of talking about it, we're going to do it today. We also, as you guys have noticed, they sang a couple songs, a couple fast songs. We're going to do some more extended worship throughout our prayer time. I'm going to ask you guys, and so you can be thinking about it right now. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. But you can be thinking about, who you might want to pray with. I'm going to ask some seniors to be up here with me, praying with students. There's going to be several things that we're going to call you to forward if you'd like to pray about some different things that are happening in your lives, or maybe the lives of some of your friends. And so there's going to just be an extended time of prayer and worship at the end of our chapel today. As you can remember, just in review, I like to make sure that we're remembering, where we came from. We came back from Christmas, and Mr. Pinter showed up with a big tree trunk, and he had that, and he used all his tools, and he was talking about who you are allowing to shape your lives, and whether you should be shaping anybody's lives, whether your spiritual condition at this point, or even maturity at this point, whether you should be somebody that's shaping lives, or whether you should be, concentrating on having your lives shaped. Then I came up and I talked about relationships, and I hope that I helped you guys understand the ability to identify key people in your lives that you should be forming relationships with, that you should be relying on. And then I hope that in that whole process I also helped you guys identify maybe some people that are currently feeding into your life and shaping your life that maybe you shouldn't have them doing that. Maybe there's a situation that you can get out of because of, being able to recognize some of that. And then Miss C came last week, and she talked about who we are in Christ and not believing the lies that our friends sometimes, and that our acquaintances a lot of times, and that media and the world a lot of times tells us who we are. And on the way out, we were able to get different identification cards telling us who we are in Christ. And I just thought that was awesome, those 3 weeks. Hopefully you guys felt the same way, that we were able to identify some things. One of the things that I didn't get to, as I was preparing my talk, it just kept getting to the point where I could not get it under a half an hour. And so I didn't want to, make somebody rush. And so I asked some people if they would share. And one of the key relationships that I really didn't hit on a whole lot, but one of the key relationships that we all have in our lives, whether that's hopefully really, really, really positive, but in some cases I know that it's not, is our family. And I talked to the seniors, when I was young, I got to go out of the house once a week, maybe twice a week, to go to the nursery. And so I got to go to my church nursery, and whether that was on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night probably, I wasn't out very much. Other than that, I was in my home for the first 5 years, and my family, which is a large family, they were the ones that shaped my self-image, I guess, up to 5 years old. And I think that that's pretty common, through, in all of our lives. Some cases, maybe not so much, but in a lot of cases, your family shapes who you are, who you think you are, for those first 5 years. Then you go to kindergarten on the first day and you're wearing short pants and, you know, some kid calls you Noah or something. Noah's not a bad name, but if you're expecting a flood, they start calling you names, or they notice that you have, no neck or whatever, and they call you some kind of name on the first day, and then you realize your parents were lying to you. You're not the best looking person there ever was, or, but our lives are shaped by our family. And I asked Kelly and Grant Sisson, a couple of our seniors, they're going to come up and talk for a few minutes about family relationships and what it ought to look like. And so I have one microphone, one chair. I figured you guys would tag team, so here you go. Grant and Kelly, give it up one more time.
Hi, so Mr. Tenson introduced us, but I'm Kelly.
And I'm Grant.
And no, we are not twins.
We just wanted to clear up this common misconception before getting started. I am the older brother.
It's true. And we wanted to also give a shout out to two of our family members that are sitting in this audience today.
To the smoking hot 6th grade David Sisson in Mrs. Stewart's class.
And to the coolest freshman on the block, Jack Sisson, who we all know and love. Those are family members that are important in our lives, so we wanted to make sure they got that shout out. And, today we're talking touching on a couple things about family relationships, because those are some of the most important in our lives, but they're also some of the hardest in our lives. I think family can be some of the biggest blessing, but it can also, thanks, Berna. It can also be one of the biggest challenges in our lives. And as a family, we need to learn how to bear with one another, and we need to learn how to work through the things that we go through, the hard times when we disagree and when we fight and all those things. And so there's 4 just really key concepts that we want to just leave you with today. Important things about what it means to look like being siblings and being in a family.
Yeah, and so the first one that we'd like to talk about today is forgiveness. And forgiveness is a very important part of any relationship, because it really allows you to not hold any bitterness towards the other person in that relationship. And I remember when Kelly and I were young and we'd get into a fight, and our mom would make us sit us down, and I remember just being angry about having to do that, but she'd sit us down in 2 chairs facing each other. And she wouldn't let us leave until we worked through our disagreement, and we made up and we apologized to each other and we forgave each other. And even though I was really upset about having to do that at the time, looking back on that, I can see just how it's made Kelly and my relationship even stronger than it would have been. Because Kelly and I, we don't really hold bitterness towards each other. We just move on from our disagreements. If I wrong Kelly, she'll tell me about it. She'll be like, Grant, you wronged me, and that offended me. and I'll be like, oh, Kelly, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I hurt you in that way. And then Kelly, to her credit, will usually forgive me pretty quickly, and then we'll just forget about the incident and move on and not hold any bitterness against each other.
So it's important to communicate and let people know when you're wronged?
Yes. Communication is a key part of any relationship. And so not only communicating when you're hurt or forgiving each other, but also Kelly and I spend pretty regularly some quality time together, just getting to know each other, talking to each other, laughing together, crying together. Really getting to know each other better and investing in each other. And I do that with the other members of my family as well. I'll talk to David, I'll talk to Jack, I'll talk to my parents. And so I would really like to encourage all of you to just get to know your family members better. Take time and invest in them and build that friendship with the other members of your family. And we'd also like to share a verse about forgiveness.
You know, forgiveness is rooted all over in the Bible, as I'm sure you know. But one verse sticks out to me, and that's Ephesians 4:32, and it says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ Jesus forgave you."
Yeah.
You know, I am the first person to say that I am in desperate need of forgiveness from my family members, from my friends. You know, I am a sinner in need of God's grace, and I'm in a place right now where I'm spread very thin, and I feel like I am struggling in a lot of areas, and one of those areas is in being a really great sister and a friend. And so I'm thankful for when Grant is able to have the grace and the forgiveness to say, like, Kelly, like, I forgive you for that time that you did this or this, because I need a lot of it in my own life. And part of the reason that we do need to forgive our family members is because that's what God asks us to do. It's what he did to us. We don't deserve his forgiveness. And so even if someone in your family doesn't deserve your forgiveness, even if they've hurt you so deeply that it doesn't seem like they deserve that forgiveness, you know, we are still asked to give it to them and extend it to them, even if they don't take the time to apologize and say, you know, I'm wrong in this too. But I am thankful for the times when Grant is able to say, you know, yeah, I'm sorry, I was wrong in that. Even though both of us, as some of you know, tend to like to be right and to not be the wrong one in this situation. But we still need to be able to take that step back and to receive that forgiveness. You know, another thing is to be able to have trust in your family members. But if you aren't willing to forgive and to forget and to move on, you won't be able to build that trust and the support that you need in your family system. You know, families are some of the most important things God puts in our lives. And he puts us there. We were designed to be a structure of support. But a lot of you guys might not have a system of support in your family. Thankfully, you are able to look to God as the biggest support in your life. You know, he is there for you no matter what goes on with your friends or your family. But if you don't have a support system in your family, you can go and you can be a catalyst for change and start forgiving and saying you're sorry and apologizing and start being that catalyst for a support system be built in your family, for certainly. One verse in the Bible says, in Romans 12, it says,
"Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourself."
So in families, we're not supposed to be in comparison of each other. We're not supposed to be always vying for the best position. You know, it tells us to honor one another above ourselves, to celebrate with each other in our victories, and to be there to mourn with each other when we're mourning. And thankfully, that's one thing that Grant and I have done well, is that we're able to, even though we are competitive and we have that healthy competition, we are able to have a relationship where we're excited for each other when there's things that go really well in our lives. And even though we're able to push each other on and have that like healthy competition, we don't hold it against each other when someone does better in another area, because we have very different strengths. Grant and I are very different people, as some of you know. According to one personality test, the Myers-Briggs test, Grant and I actually have completely opposite personalities on the spectrum. Like, we couldn't have gotten the more different answers. But I think that's actually a really great thing, because we're able to balance one another out. Okay, well, in that, you know, when I might be strong in another area, he might be strong in another area, and we're able to take that together and encourage each other in the areas that we are strong, but also balance one another out. So even though I might have ideas that are all over the place and crazy, he's able to have that logic and saying, Kelly, like, let's think this through. Let's take a step back and really consider it.
Yeah, so in conclusion for today, we'd just like to reemphasize the 4 points. Forgive each other, communicate with your family members, trust in your family members, or begin to build the trust with them, and then also support your family members. Be like their #1 fans. Thank you.
And I don't claim to know Grant and Kelly, 100% or anything like that, but I want to tell you that what they stood up here today and talked about, they live that way. That, everything that I can say, I'm sure they have their scraps and scrapes that they need to forgive each other for, but they really live out what they stood up here and talked about today. And I know that, they are a tremendous example of how families ought to treat each other. I would like for the lights to go down just a little bit, just so that we can talk a little bit. I know that on the day that I shared, I asked several things, and I'm going to get you guys moving around this room in a little bit. But I want you to be thinking about the questions that I asked 2 weeks ago. And the first one was, your relationship with the Lord. And I know that when I asked that, eyes were closed and heads were bowed and nobody was looking around, but I did see a lot of people raise their hands, that they felt like they needed to get their situation, their relationship right with the Lord, that they needed to move from point A to point B, and maybe point A is I'm not a believer and I need to become a believer. Or maybe it's I'm tired of being so immature in Christ and struggling with the same exact things. I need to be able to move on in my maturity in my relationship with Christ. And maybe some of you others were thinking, I'm at this point where I need to start shaping and molding others' lives, and there's something holding me back. And so a lot of you raised your hands and said that you wanted to pray about your spiritual condition and your relationship with the Lord. And so we are going to make time for that. And I'm going to have some seniors standing up here that are going to be here to pray with you. They stated earlier in the year that they want to make a difference in the lives of the students here at Christian Life School. And so they're going to be standing before you and here to pray with you. I'm also going to ask the spiritual formations teachers if they will come down and pray with students today as we spend time with that. And so we're definitely going to have time to pray about our relationships. I also know that in the lives, some of you guys in your lives are struggling physically, and you have something going on in the health of your body, and that some of you talk about it and some of you don't talk about it. Some of you are just struggling with it and you struggle with it alone, or you may struggle with just one close friend. And so we are going to pray also for healing, and I'm going to have those seniors down here available to pray with you regarding healing, getting your body in shape so that you can go on about your daily lives. And I also know that several of you are in here, and when I said we're going to break up with you're going to get to sit with your friends, and I'm going to give you several things that you're going to pray about, and immediately some of you guys, that's awesome, and you knew just who those friends were going to be, and you picture yourself already sitting in that circle, and this is going to be an awesome time. We're going to pray together, and it's going to be great. And others of you that maybe aren't in a spiritual condition, that feel like praying is something that you want to do, you went to, why are we doing that? Why are we spending time in prayer? And some of you others just simply panicked because I don't have anybody that is going to want to pray with me. I don't have any group that's going to be inviting me into their group to pray. And some of you are struggling finding that friend group that's just the desire in your life. Yeah, I've got people that I talk to throughout the day. Yeah, I've got people that I am pushed into group projects with in class. Yes, I have people that sit at my lunch table, but I'm really desiring to go to the next level of friendship, and I'm really desiring to find that person that I can really connect with. And some of you are struggling with that, and I get that. And so today, as we get you guys moving around a little bit, we get you guys finding your spot, I want the seniors to be the first ones that move, and I want you guys that said you wanted to make a difference in the lives of your classmates, if you guys would just stand up and spread across the front, I would greatly appreciate that. If you guys would move right now, that would be fantastic. Those of you that told me you wanted to do that, get up here and do it. and get a spot for you. You guys can recognize who these seniors are that are moving, and you guys can say, I'd like to go pray with whomever, and maybe find them and spend a little time in prayer with them. The next thing that I would like you to do is in big groups, without talking a whole lot, without making this a big social time, I would like for you guys to get into groups and find some people that you'd like to spend some time in prayer with. And this goes for everybody. If you could find somebody, and I would ask you to include people around you that may be looking for somebody to pray with. And so I'm going to give you guys about a minute to move around a little bit, find a spot on the floor, find a spot in the chairs, whatever you're going to do, find somebody to pray with right now. Okay, that shouldn't have taken that long, and so we should be in good shape here. Now I would ask, again, just as the instrument is playing, you guys are quiet. We're going to give you guys some things to pray about. But I would ask that the things that I brought up, if you're struggling with your your relationship with the Lord, if you're struggling with your spiritual condition, and you want to move from point A to point B, you want to get to that next level, I would ask that you seek out one of these seniors that are standing before you. I would ask that if you're struggling with friendships and relationships and where you're going to go, in those friendships and relationships, you want to go to the next level, I would ask that you seek out one of these seniors and they can spend some time praying with you. But in your small groups, I would ask that you guys kind of, talk about those things. Talk about your spiritual levels. Talk about what you guys can do as a group to help students in our building get to the next level. Ask each other what your needs are in your group. Ask each other what your physical needs are. Ask each other what your needs are spiritually, and pray about those things. We're going to give you guys some time just to sit there and pray. I'm just going to ask that you play quietly while they do that, and we're just going to let you do that for a little while. Okay, off you go. Some of the groups are doing a great job spending time sharing and praying. Some of the groups are socializing. That's okay. I'm going to ask the worship team to come out, and you guys can stay where you are. Stay praying. That's great. Those of you that would like to stand and worship, that's great. This is just going to kind of be a casual time of them adding some worship to our prayer time.
never runs out on me. Your love never fails and never gives up, never runs out on me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys if you would head back to your seats real quick. I appreciate all of you that spent time praying, and if you're still praying, that's awesome. Keep praying. That's great. And I guess those of you that chose to have social time, I guess that's part of community as well. And so that's fine. I'm going to ask the worship team if they'll sing one last song before we head back to class today. 1 second. Okay, now let's settle. Those of you that are talking, if you could stop. I just need you to hear one thing. Those of you that are asking questions about your spiritual life, please don't leave here today without talking to somebody. Please don't leave here today. Find me, find one of these seniors, find somebody that you trust, and let's talk about your spiritual condition and what it is that you're concerned about. And if it's that you need to come to know the Lord, that's awesome, and we can all celebrate with you. And if it's you just want to move from where you are from point A to point B, we can help you with that as well. And so please don't leave here today without praying about that, without finding somebody that you can pray with. And I would just like for you guys to stand one more time. We're going to have the worship team lead us in a song, and we're going to then go on back to class. And so, guys, go ahead.